Hey everyone, Vinayak here. Here we are again with a phone review. I make a phone review whenever I purchase a phone for myself, and the conditions for a phone upgrade are basically that my existing phone has some kind of a problem. I have the S20 Plus and it has developed a green line ever since an update. This is a known issue and the service centers are not taking up the task as they say my phone is 3 years old. Was angry with Samsung for some time, but using my backup M51, I was not happy and I needed a replacement phone. Looking at the market, I eventually went with Samsung again. Okay, hear me out. They are the only ones that have a good foldable phone in India, and I wanted to try out foldables. So let's check out the flagship foldable by Samsung, the Galaxy Z Fold 4. I have wanted a foldable phone for quite some time, especially since Samsung released their Flip and Fold series of phones. Xiaomi, Motorola have their own models, but I went with Samsung as it's easier to move within the Samsung ecosystem and they all have the features I am used to. Here's the Galaxy Z Fold 4. Quite thin a box and I have it in beige. Let's see what else is in the box. We have a SIM ejector tool, a USB-C cable and manuals. Samsung is following Apple's removal of the power adapter, which is annoying as you need to purchase one separately. I have a couple of Samsung phones, so there's no dearth of chargers here. But if you are new to Samsung, you need to pick up a new charger. I love this color. The beige, though light, has a golden sheen on the metal edges. We have the main cameras here, and the back glass has a matte finish. It is Corning Gorilla Glass Victus, as is the front outer screen. Flip it over and we have the foldable screen which is protected by this plastic cover. The main display is 7.6 inches which in a wide canvas looks big. Here we are. The crease is visible at certain angles but mostly is invisible. Fold it down and we have the 6.2 inch outer screen. Samsung has added around 4mm more screen as compared to the Fold 3 to make the outer screen a bit more usable. Looks beautiful and it doesn't seem to weigh too much too. I was using my backup M51 for some time and the weight difference is not much between them, and compared to my S21 both are quite heavy. The hinge looks robust. Samsung promises around 200,000 open and close cycles, which is equivalent to 110 folds a day. For 5 years, we will know as time goes on. The Samsung logo is embossed in the hinge. We have a speaker, a microphone and a USB charging port on the bottom. The transparent lines are the antennas. On the top, we have 3 microphones and another speaker. And the extra microphone helps in noise reduction when making calls. Volume buttons and a power button with the integrated fingerprint sensor can be found on the side. Here's the SIM tray. It's dual nano SIM and we also have the option for an eSIM. I'm now moving my SIM from my backup M51 to the Fold 4. Let's boot it up and finish the setup process. I'll just skip past the setup and we can set up the unlock method. We have a pin, pattern, fingerprint and a face unlock. A pin or pattern is mandatory before we set up the fingerprint sensor. Now we are setting up the fingerprint and I don't understand why we need to have the phone open to set it up. Once fingerprints are set up, you don't need to open the phone to unlock it. Having a Samsung account, all my settings, contacts, apps all sync in and we are ready. Specs wise, the Fold 4 comes equipped with a 4nm octa-core Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, which is a pleasant move away from Exynos, especially in India. And RAM on all the models is 12GB LPDDR5, which is necessary with all the multitasking features and is the same as it was on the Fold 3. Storage options are 256, 512 and 1TB UFS 3.1. There is no storage upgradability, so pick the biggest one you need as you're going to be stuck with it. Samsung used to provide storage expansion via microSD cards, so sad to see that option go away. Mine is the base model at 256GB. The outer screen is a 6.2 inch dynamic AMOLED display with a resolution of 2316 by 904 and an aspect ratio of 23.1:9. It can change refresh rates between 48 to 120Hz. 1 Hz on the outer screen would have been really good. I'm surprised why they have it at 48 Hz on the outer screen. It's a vibrant screen and the overall usage experience is still great. The outer screen can be used for anything that a standard smartphone can be used for, like answering calls, sending messages, browsing social media, everything. It's not as wide as a standard phone, but it's not that cramped either. And the on-screen keyboard, depending on the one that you use, can feel cramped, but the outer screen is big enough for most tasks. I mostly use my phone folded and unfold very rarely. When unfolded, we find this gorgeous 7.6-inch dynamic AMOLED screen, which is called the Infinity Flex display with a resolution of 2176 by 1812. The aspect ratio is 21.6:18. The internal screen can change its refresh rate between 1 Hz to 120 Hz. 120 Hz is for buttery smooth scrolling and 1 Hz for when it doesn't need to refresh, which helps save the battery. Viewing videos on YouTube or Netflix, playing games, and also browsing through social media is a breeze, and the big size makes it more enjoyable. The square aspect ratio does have black bars on video content, which can be zoomed into, but then you lose the extremities of the video. It is still bigger than standard phones for video, but barely. And games, on the other hand, scale properly and it fills the entire screen. You can see more on screen. And if it's a first-person shooter or a racing game, it's a joy to use as the buttons are easier to hit. There is a screen protector installed from the factory. Don't try to remove it. The crease in the middle, you can see it if you angle the phone to the lights, and you can feel it while you swipe across, but it's not that distracting and you tend to forget about it after some time. The fingerprint sensor integrated into the power button is quite fast and unlocks the phone instantly. It just naturally comes under your finger when held in either folded or unfolded mode. Cameras are on the rear. We have a 12 megapixel ultra wide with an aperture of f2.2 and a 50 megapixel wide angle camera with dual pixel autofocus, OIS, and an aperture of f1.8. The third one is a 10 megapixel telephoto lens with 3 times optical zoom, PDAF, OIS, and an aperture of f2.4. The front has a 10 megapixel selfie camera with an aperture of f2.2. And the internal screen has a hidden under display camera which has a resolution of only 4 megapixels and an aperture of f1.8. It's not a great camera for selfies, but it works for video calls. The cameras are similar to the ones on the Galaxy S22, and shots of the main 50 megapixel camera looks great, and the dynamic range has always been great on Samsung phones. It doesn't always shoot at 50 megapixels and is generally binned down to around 12 megapixels. But if you want to shoot it, you have to select 50 megapixels manually. 3 times optical zoom is present, and we can zoom up to 30x if you want to use digital zoom, but you will lose quality as you are only zooming into an image effectively. In bright sunlight, the pictures come out really crisp and the skies are really blue, colors are accurate, with a bunch of Samsung's processing magic added. And the dynamic range being so good, everything is exposed evenly. Portrait mode looks good. Samsung always had a great portrait mode implementation, and we can add these filters after the shots are taken. Ultra-wide shots look really cool too, and I like the fact that you can get in so much more in one shot. Having 2 displays, we have 2 selfie cameras, one on the outer screen and the other on the inner screen. So this is the quality of the video on the outer selfie camera. I think it's pretty good. If you can use it for video calls, but the screen is quite small, so it might be cramped. The quality will be better being a 10 megapixel camera. This is the quality of the under display camera. The audio is going to be the same as the outer camera, as the microphones are the same, but the quality of the video is going to take a hit because the camera is first only 4 megapixels and 2, it is under the display. If you are taking selfies, use the outer selfie camera. But if you're on a video call, use the inner camera. The under display camera is a marvel. An array of pixels cover the camera and hide it. It's not as high res as the actual display, but it does the job. You won't find it unless you're looking for it. Low light conditions, the Fold 4 camera was at par with other flagships. Night mode allowed taking pictures in completely dark areas, and selfies, we have the screen light up, which would help bring in a bit more detail. It's fine. And video, the Fold 4 supports 4K 30 FPS video, and we can also shoot in 8K. We also have a stabilization mode which would iron out sudden jerks while shooting, but I did notice a bit more jerking than required. Quality is great in bright light. We have director's mode which allows viewing videos from all cameras and you can choose between them. Super slow motion is also available which records video at 960 fps but in 720p. Performance, the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 is a very efficient processor and it performs well to boot. We won't feel any slowdowns or stutters while using the Fold 4. Here are a few benchmarks in Geekbench.
Antutu and 3D Mark.
Fold 4 uses Android 12L with One UI 4.1.1 which brings in tons of features for folding phones. We can multitask by just dragging and dropping apps side by side. The taskbar here allows for easy access to app shortcuts and also recently used apps. I like the home, back and recent buttons and I'm still not used to the gesture-based interface. We can have the two halves at any angle. The interface switches to a half and half mode. We can have the preview above and the camera controls below. And apps like YouTube have the controls below and the video playing on top. DeX is also present on the Fold. Connect to a bigger monitor and voila, we have a desktop experience. I have this external monitor and it works. Even the touchscreen on that monitor works. DeX provides a complete desktop experience with movable resizable windows, multiple apps and more. The battery is 4400 mAh which sounds paltry, but it uses two cells, one on each side of the phone. I was pleasantly surprised that the phone lasted quite a bit with help from the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 processor. No charger is included in the box, but the phone supports 25 watt wired charging which promises 50% charge within 30 minutes. Yeah, the competitors are using 65 watt chargers and have faster charging times. It takes around 1 hour or actually 1 hour 13 minutes I guess to fully charge the phone. Wireless charging is at 10 watts max and we also have reverse wireless charging called wireless power share which helps juice up your accessories if they are completely drained and it also works through a case. Audio quality is fantastic with the two speakers and they sound really good. You do need to hold the phone in landscape for which you need to do this move when you want to watch content. Would have liked the speakers to be as the phone opens, but it's fine. Dolby Atmos is also present and it does boost the audio a bit, but it is a software boost. Stereo separation is really good. The feel of the phone in the hand, the cool glass and metal and the hinge feels really premium. The phone has IPX8 water resistance but no dust resistance, especially due to the hinge. There are tons of features that Samsung includes like live captions for videos that don't have them. There's a cool Android TV remote control to control your TV using an on-screen remote, link to Windows to see notifications on your PC, and so much more. The matte finish looks quite nice and it resists fingerprints much better than its shiny counterparts. And the haptic feedback is really good as with all flagship Samsung phones. When folded, we have the candy bar aspect ratio and when looking at it, it looks like two phones stacked on top of each other. Samsung did make it lighter than the Fold 3, which is a plus. The interscreen gap is still present, which allows for dust and lint to get in if it has been sitting in your pocket. The phone snaps with a reassuring snap when closing and it feels very satisfying. The hinge is quite strong and you need some effort to unfold it, and the phone is quite slippery too, which is because it's made of glass and metal. It's not easy to get a hold to open it, but with some practice it's now easier. But if you have sweaty hands, it will slip out. I even found it slipping out of my pocket when sitting in the car. Adding a case made it more grippable, and I picked this up from Samsung, the standing cover with pen. The camera bump is also substantial and it rocks when placed on the table. The case makes it more level and doesn't rock anymore unless you have the S Pen attachment, which now makes it sit in an odd angle. The Fold 4 has support for an S Pen but doesn't come with one in the box. They are not including a charger. The last thing they're going to provide is a S Pen. I picked up a small Bluetooth keyboard. Now I can have a PC-ish experience anywhere. At present, Samsung doesn't have any competition in the foldable tablet space, especially in India, so it's our only choice. But honestly, it performed well. The display and audio quality are fantastic, and battery life is also really good. If you want a foldable with a tablet form factor, the Fold 4 is a great choice. But if you don't want something this big, and still want a foldable, get the Flip instead, or even the Motorola Razr. It is an expensive phone, so make sure you can take advantage of the features the phone provides before pulling the trigger. It's big, so it's going to be heavy too. I'm used to big phones, so I don't mind the weight. So what are your thoughts of the Fold 4? Make sure to comment below. So that was the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and also hit the notification bell to be notified when new videos are added. Thank you for watching and see you all next time.